What's up YouTube? I'm here with PAK and he just finished top 8 at YCS Niagara. How are you feeling?
Feeling good, I'm feeling good. I'll do better next time. The job's not finished.
Yeah, good man. The job's it's not finished.
Yep.
So what do you play today?
I played TEARLAMENT, Spray, Danger Punk, a pile deck, basically. Basically playing the best cards from Power of the Elements. So that's what the deck is attributed to, Power of the Elements.
Fair.
Yep.
Any shout outs you want to give before we go into it?
Yeah, shout out to Dom for basically giving me the deck list the night before. I knew that I was very comfortable with Punk Tournaments. That was the first deck I picked up since Power of the Elements came out.
Yep.
So I was very familiar with how the deck worked overall. The only inclusions are basically the sprite cards, so playing like more blues, Jet, Smasher, etc. in red.
Yep.
Was something that was different, but I got used to it quite after like a night of testing. So yeah, so those are the challenges. Shout out to all the guys that came with me on the trip. Those guys are insane, like Hani, Gunther, all of them, Kamal, Ruben. And then shout out to Sam, Trip from Milan for letting me stay there and meet with him.
That's good of them. So are you planning to come to Europe anytime soon?
Next, if the YCS is announced, I'm gonna be there.
Yeah?
I promise.
All right, okay.
Yeah.
I'm sure the Europeans are excited.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, let's go into it, man.
Sure. So I played 2 Rhinoheart. Main reason is because my deck already has additional normal summons from the inclusion of the Punk cards.
Yep.
So I only played 2, which I think is the minimum you have to play it at, because if you're Hoffnitz, for some reason, you get lucky and you hit 2 names. What you're able to do is you get to make Kikalos. And Kikalos sends you hit a name and then you have a name in hand, or like 2 names and a name in hand. You make Kikalos with these 2. And then you add, you send Rhinoheart, and then Rhinoheart summons itself back, and then you send another name, and you make Sepelia plus Rhinoheart. The issue with that is that your Rhinoheart gets banished at the end of this combo, or like turn 0. So you need a second one in the deck, basically, so that you have a grind game. So that's the main reason you play 2. Everything else is just like 3-ofs. Just because these are obviously the best cards in the deck. Not much to really say about them. Miru is actually low-key a better normal summon than Rhinoheart, because Miru is a level 2, so you normal summon it, then they summon blue after. GG's. The rest of the deck, we have the Danger package, only 5. Nessie was really good because if you combine with Aemon, it's just like a Baron out of nowhere, and that's actually how I won. I actually won my top 32 match, being able to like use Nessie Aemon to make Baron in like simplified game state. And then obviously Baron's able to tag out for follow-up, and then these 2 cards are basically, this card basically summons Nessie, and then Tsuchinoko is like the only one that's kind of weird. I didn't mind playing it, but yeah, this was it was like definitely the worst danger for me. The Punk engine, I played these. These cards, none of these are not bricks. This one is a little suspect, but I think this card is fine because essentially what I do a lot when I drew this was you can use Sharon. And if you have access to the Strudel, you can use the Strudel target Sharon, which makes the Strudel level 3. You tribute summon the Sharon for this, then you use this plus the Strudel to make Chaos Ruler. And that's also like a really clever way to get access to that. So yeah, being a level 5 is cool. Shinobi, Snow, and then the Strudel, these are all like the tuners. You want to have access to like health lines. Like usually like your Aemon never actually resolves going second. So you turn them into Fibrax to summon Shinobi, and at any point in the game, now you have a Link 2 plus a level 2, which allows you to make Elf or make Gigantic, and Gigantic is at 3200, be Silver Stuff, and then main phase 2, you can start cracking the board with Sprite cards. So, Shinobi was also really broken because of the interaction with Snow and Shinobi. Yep. You can use Snow to banish Shinobi from the graveyard, book a monster, and then Chainlink 2 summon Shinobi, and then if you have a Sharon that's that's follow-up, or you have a Miru, you can use Snow, Miru, and Shinobi you brought back off Snow to make Chaos Ruler. Or you can use Shinobi, Necro, Ferrotail, Snow, and Sharon to make a Baron out of nowhere. So like there's a really cool like synchro mechanics you can do even if you don't draw the Punk cards. The other cool thing about Shinobi that's really nice is if you open like Foxy Tune, and you hit a name, right? You go Foxy Tune, pitch a name, and you summon Aemon. And then you can then trigger the name to make Kikalos, or sorry, make Arua. Then you can use an extender to make use Aemon and Garua to make Fiber, like any extender. Then you fiber out the Shinobi, and then as you can see, that's a Chaos Ruler out of nowhere with these 2. And then you can use Chaos Ruler and this to make Elf, and then you have basically some components for some cool plays.
Nice.
So, Yeah, so that's why like I think like I'm explaining the lines because the deck just works really well together. You just have to find like the really complex lines with them. 3 blue, jet, red, and then I played the 1 smashers. So basically like I thought that more people would be playing hand traps this event, and I mean Gunther's in top 4 with literally 15 hand traps in his deck. But so the best way to counteract hand traps is you play the punk cards, because the punk cards lets you make a Barone that points to an elf so that they can't nib imperm you, which is one of the ways like people beat you. And then the same thing, the sprite cards do similar things where the sprite cards allows you to get access to red. I low-key never get this card. This card is a card I get off Gigantic. Red is a card I get off blue actually very often. And so what ends up happening is if you open like you don't even have to open this because Chaos Ruler can hit it, but basically you make Chaos Ruler and you go Deer No Premac Aemon. Chaos Ruler hits a blue, then you make Fibrax summons Shinobi, then you special blue grab red, right? And now at this point your opponent has to nib you. Let's say they do nib you, sure. You have red in your hand. Then you go effective Chaos Ruler, banish the Shinobi and banish the Fox Team, summon a Chaos Ruler and Shinobi back. Then you special red, and then you're able to make Barone, and then you play through everything else anyways.
Nice.
So that's why you play these cards because of that reason. So yeah, these cards are broken. I actually won against Gunther in game 2 because I had these cards and I basically played a sprite deck to beat him. Because red in the grind game with Elf is just like broken. And then I played, I guess I'll show you the tech. I'll explain this after, but all the other cards are like, these are just broken quick play spells. The field spell, and then 1 instant fusion. So now droplets was crazy for me because especially if you start doing like sprite stuff, you know, we know how important Pixies is. Well, this card is basically just Pixies and a spell card, and it also negates, right? So it makes it really hard for your opponent to kill over your red, or your elf, or your gigantic, or whatever. So if going first is better than Dark Ruler because it helps maintain your board. I actually won in time because my opponent droplets me, then I reverse droplets him back, and then I actually won because of that, which is nice. Going second, this card is very good at like I think stopping Dweller, or it gives you they have to do a very weird play to like stop the Dweller. I mean, Snow banish their own Dweller to dodge this, and they have to chain a trap, right? So if they do that, you then use the droplets to negate their elf, and they turns off their Sulliek. So I do think this card is like fine to have. Yeah, so I think this card is like very good. I actually went teleport, chain droplets, send double teleport at a name to beat, you know, Blair in on the bubble. It's the only chance I had. But yeah, this card was really good. And then I had 2 Sulliek and 1 Eradicate. This is the combo I go for blind game 1 always. I don't really send Snow, I usually send this. Because I think any on this is like really, really insane. And Griffin's basically like Dweller, but like on the field. So then I guess into my extra deck. So the fusions I play are this, and this. So I'll explain why you only need 5. Like you one Kikalos, Collider Hearts, Sepelia, Garou, and Romp, because your first action should be to make Kikalos. The second action should be to make Garua, putting this back, and then afterwards you have an option of making Sepelia, which puts this back, and you can see that you keep putting the fusions back. You make Mudragon by putting this back. As you can see, like you actually loop. If you play it correctly, you actually don't need more fusions. Just loop them. The only time it comes up to have a second Kikalos is if you have instant fusion in your combo, and you get hand trap to Oblivion, and you top like an instant fusion in a grind game. Because you got hand trap to death, you don't get to resolve like the tournament cards in order to put these back. So you need to have a second one. But I think 1 for me was like perfectly fine throughout the rest of the tournament. I had no issues looping these cards. For the synchros, Barone, Chaos Ruler, broken. Yeah. And then this Link card, this is like so broken. This is like my favorite Link monster in this format. Sprite Elf. I just love this card, what it can do. I always like Gamma in going first, regardless of what matchup I play into. So if you mill Gamma, you can bring it back off Gamma and then use Guru Gamma to make Chaos Ruler. This card is just like, insane. 1 Dark, took everything. This card is really good. Fiber, as I play Tuners. Curious, this card is Lavolleyball Chain, literally needs to get banned. Card is broken. Against trap decks, I did a cool line against under Shadow Imprisoning Mirror. So I opponent Shadow Imprisoning Mirror me, and I made Curious, and I went Curious Effect Send Reboot, and I crashed my Curious into his Golden Lore. It took 100, and I Curious add back Reboot. We got 2 judgments. GG.
Oh man.
Alright, Griffin. This card is like Dweller on steroids, in my opinion. I don't main deck Dweller in my extra deck. I actually side into it because I think like ending on this plus my board is usually Elf, this, Baron, Eradicator, and then if my hand's really good, I also end on these 2 as well with Celiac. And if I get lucky, I hit the Snow. That's basically what it comes down to. But you mill an extra 5 cards because of Chaos Ruler, so you have a very high chance to hit Snow. And if you don't hit Snow on your turn, you'll probably hit it on your opponent's turn because you mill 5 off Ruler, 5 off Kikalos, 3 off Miru. On your opponent's turn, you're gonna mill 3 off Miru, and you're gonna probably mill 3 more off Hoffnet. So that's 19 mills. You're probably gonna see it. And then you search your deck a bunch too. So yeah, Gigantic, and then 1/0 Boros are the last 2 extra deck slots. Boros is just I actually summoned this card very little, but when I did, I just won. So it came up once for me, and I think that's good enough. I don't play IP to make this on my opponent's turn because, like I said, I think the board I talked about is good enough. But yeah, 0 Boros was a good card. I just did it. I used it with Snow to kill my opponent, and then I had Gigantic, which this card is crazy in the grind game. It's also for the combo with Eradicator, but this card was really good. For my side deck, I was very prepared for the Runic Mind deck. I knew a bunch of people would be on it, so I played basically 4 red reboots and then 2 Canceller. The logic is, against the Runic Mind deck, I get Canceller and I tribute set it, right? It's very important you do this because you can't judgment a set monster. And you wait until you draw this, you enter battle phase, you activate this, they can't judgment anti-magic arrows, you turn off all their back row, then you flip up Canceller. GG's. It doesn't matter if you have 5 floodgates, you take this every turn and then you just die. So also this card is also conceptually really good into Sprite, right? Because if you think about like the Sprite deck, what's really problematic about that deck sometimes is like their back row. So it can be starter, it can be impermanence, it can be like smashers, and smasher is one of their best interrupts. So what you do is you go normal summon Sharon, right? And then you'll be like, and then you'll be like attempt to enter battle phase. Most people are gonna be like, sure, because it was just Smasher the Sharon in battle and you can't beat over the Elf, right?
Yep.
But as a result, they'll get anti-magic arrowed, Smasher starter is turned off, then you go Sharon beat over Elf, and the only thing you have to beat now is 1 Toad, which is a 4-card hand in tier deck just destroys it. So that was also the logic. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Yeah, also against like trap decks, right? I played like Infinite Floodgates. I didn't draw them, of course. I played 4, didn't draw any of them. But one of my losses was to the Elish player, and basically like your opponent's not gonna preemptively flip up the floods, right? The moment you say attempt to enter battle phase, they're gonna read evenly match because that's the card that people associate with that action. So when you say attempt to enter battle phase, they're gonna think evenly match, and then you just anti-magic them and then they won't flip up their floods preemptively, which obviously they should. It's definitely a misplay, but that's something that you can take advantage of, like how people use their cards. So this card also theoretically can turn beat floodgates, and then main phase 2 use 0 Boros them for 5 in this game. So that's stuff for back row decks. Bug, I summoned this card. I only sent this card like once. It did its job. 1 Dweller. I side this because if you get hench-upped a lot, sometimes you get like a bunch of 4s with like Snow. So I like having this as a backup plan in case I don't end on my board against tier. I only ever summoned it once actually. Every other time I did my regular board and it was actually good enough. Gamma, I said this card first or second, does not matter. Yeah, this card is like broken, and with teleport it's even more broken. Because there's a game where I opened double teleport blue, so I went first. I go teleport summon Gamma, summon blue, get red, special red, then I go teleport for Aemon, GG's. And then 3 nib. Yeah, this like the other tier decks don't really respect this card. They just lose to 1 nib, but that's why I decided to play this version of the deck because it's more resilient towards Nibru. And if you think in the tier mirror, game 2s, like they only side like really like just nib. And yeah, if your engine just beats 1 nib by itself. So, but most people aren't doing that, so that's why I thought nib would still be a fine card. I also side this card going first because if you have an established board and they like do the droplets play, like droplets is the only card that really answers the board well. But you keep this card going first so that you can nib your board and then trigger your after you get Dark Alert, you nib your board and you trigger Kaleido Heart. You can also snow your opponent, then nib your snow and then snow them again, which is like an FTK. So I think this card is like insane. But yeah, that's pretty much it. That's the deck profile. It was a lot of fun. I enjoyed playing this deck a lot. It's really cool playing combo decks. I usually play like mid-range strategies, so I find it nice to like have a switch. And the deck is just fun, man. So highly recommend you give it a shot. It'll be a good like brain workout for you guys to try it. So that's it.
Good job, Pak.
Yep, thank you.
Take care, man.
Peace.